must have gone through the previous two videos quite well. There we had discussed about the discovery of electrons and the discovery of protons. Okay. So today's topic is what? The discovery of nucleus. Yes or no? And as I told you in the last class, it was because of the alpha particle scattering experiment. But before starting that, let me give you a quick recap of whatever we had discussed in the last class. That means with a diagrammatic presentation. Okay, so just look at this. In the first image, students, you can see the cathode ray discharge tube, and you can also see that there is air at a very low pressure over there, and a greenish yellow fluorescence is visible. So this was the setup, diagrammatic setup of for the cathode rays. Okay. In the next figure, students, you can see how the cathode rays were deviated by the external electric field. You can see the two external deflecting plates are kept, one at the top and one at the bottom. So the cathode rays show deviation towards the positively charged plate. Okay. In the third image, students, you can see how the cathode rays were able to produce the shadow of an opaque object which was placed on their path. Okay. So with that, we were able to conclude that they travel in a straight line. In the fourth image, students, you can see how the small paddle wheels were placed on the path of the cathode rays. Okay. And with the help of this paddle, with the help of this setup, what was discovered? What was concluded that cathode rays do have kinetic energy, and they are able to produce what? Mechanical effects. And in the next image, students, you are able to see the same discharge tube setup, but this time for the discovery of the anode rays, and how red glow or red fluorescence was observed behind the perforated cathode. So dear students, now let us come to today's topic, that is the discovery of nucleus. Okay, discovery of nucleus. We are going to discuss today discovery of nucleus. Okay, and before that, I would like to tell you that there was a scientist called Lord Rutherford. Okay, there was a scientist called Lord Rutherford who was doing his research on radioactivity. He was researching on radioactivity. Radioactivity is what? It's a phenomenon by which some substances called the radioactive substances, they continuously emit radiations. Okay, so there are some substances called the radioactive, you can say radioactive elements. So what is the property of these radioactive elements? They continuously emit radiations. Okay, so he was already doing his research work on radioactivity. So this phenomenon is called as radioactivity. Radiations like the alpha rays, the gamma rays and all. Okay, so you'll be studying this chapter separately later on in your higher classes. So now he was already experimenting on radioactivity, and he had actually performed this experiment, this gold foil experiment or the alpha particle scattering experiment earlier also. But then his experiment had quite failed. Okay, it had failed. Okay, then later on he asked two of his students. Okay, two of his students in the year 1911. The two students of Lord Rutherford, namely Hans Geiger and Ernest Marsden. Okay, these are the two students of Lord Rutherford, and he was a great scientist. So he, under the guidance of Lord Rutherford, the two students, namely Hans Geiger and Ernest Marsden, they performed this alpha particle scattering experiment. The name of the experiment is alpha particle scattering experiment. Okay, or it is also called as the gold foil experiment, because gold foil, very thin sheet of gold, was used to perform this experiment. Okay, so before going into the experiment, let me explain you a bit about this alpha particle. What is this alpha particle? Okay, so here basically what was done, this stream of alpha particles were incident on a gold foil, a very thin sheet of gold foil. Okay, so this alpha particle is what? It's having a charge of, it's a particle which has a charge of +2. It's a charge of +2, and the mass is 4 atomic mass unit. The charge on alpha particle is what? It's a charged particle, remember students. Okay, so it is having a charge of +2, and the mass of this alpha particle is 4 atomic mass unit. So we can also say that it's a doubly charged helium atom. Okay, that means what? See, remember the helium. Now remember this helium is at 2He4. So if in a helium atom, you know that there are 2 protons and 2 neutrons inside the nucleus. Okay, and it has 2 electrons. It has only 2 electrons. So if you remove these 2 electrons, if these 2 electrons are removed from the helium atom, it is left with a charge of +2. Okay, it loses 2 negative charges. So it is left with a charge of +2, and the atomic mass of the nucleus is how much? 2 + 2, 4. 4 atomic mass unit. So we can also say that it is the doubly charged. That means helium atom having a charge of +2, from which the 2 electrons have been removed. Okay, I think the idea is clear. So now let us come to the experiment. So students, before going to the experiment, just take a look at the image that I am showing you, so that you can have an overall view of how the experimental setup was made. As you can see in the figure shown to you, that there is a source of alpha particle, okay, which is kept inside a lead box, okay, and there is a gold sheet where the alpha particles are being incident, and the gold sheet is surrounded by a fluorescent material. Okay, you can see here in the figure, it's surrounded by a fluorescent material made up of zinc sulfide, completely surrounded. Okay, so now students, let me explain you on the board. Okay, so what was done during the experiment? As you can see here, so there was a source of alpha particle which was kept in a lead box. Okay, suppose like a source can be a radium, it can be bismuth. So these are what? Radioactive elements. Okay, so bismuth. So a source. Okay, there was a source. This was a lead box. It was kept inside a lead box. Okay, so a radioactive element like radium was kept inside a lead box. Okay, and then now you can visualize, I think somehow by seeing that image, now you can visualize how the experimental setup was made. Okay, and then here this area was completely surrounded by the fluorescent material or zinc sulfide screen, we can say. Okay, so this region was completely surrounded by the screen, the fluorescent material, that is the zinc sulfide screen. Okay, we can say it's a zinc sulfide screen. So here what happened? Here a very thin gold foil, or you can call it gold sheet, gold foil was used, and the thickness of the gold foil was around 1/1,000,000th of a centimeter. Because Rutherford wanted to have a very thin sheet of a metal on which he is going to bombard the alpha particles, right? So his intention was that he wanted the thinnest of a metallic sheet, thinnest metallic sheet. And gold, since gold is the most malleable metal, yes or no? So he used gold. He preferred gold over other metals because it was the most malleable. You can get the thinnest sheet possible with gold only. Okay, since it is the most malleable metal. So here he used a gold foil. Okay, having a thickness of what? 1/1,000,000th of a centimeter. Okay, that means he wanted to have as less layers of atoms, as less layer of atoms as possible. So while this experiment during this time what happened? So during this time, you know that which atomic model was prevalent. In the last class we had discussed Thomson's atomic model was prevalent during this time, and according to his atomic model, what was the proposals made by Thomson? That the positive charge is the atom is completely made up of a positive sphere. That means the entire sphere of the atom is what? Positive, in which the electrons are embedded. That was the atomic model prevalent during these days. Okay. So then what happened now? What did he do? There was a small slit on this lead box. There was a small slit only, just for the alpha particles to go out. So a stream of alpha particles were bombarded. Okay, stream, we can say a beam of alpha particles were bombarded on this gold foil. Okay, were bombarded on this gold foil, and the observations were noted. Okay, so what was observed? So first thing, there was a source of alpha particle, okay, kept inside a lead box. there was a gold foil used here. That's why the name gold foil experiment also. Okay. And then this gold foil was surrounded by a zinc sulfide screen because we want to detect whether any particles are coming out, or we want to know whether the alpha particles, they pass through this gold foil or not. Yes or no? So whatever, so this zinc sulfide screen will produce illumination, it will produce scintillations. Yes or no? So for that, it was completely surrounded by the zinc sulfide screen, and now the alpha particles were made incident on this gold foil. Okay, and the observations were noted. So what was the first observation which was noted? Okay, it was noted out that most of the alpha particles, unexpectedly, most of the alpha particles passed undeviated, okay, through the gold foil. Okay, the first observation. That means we can say around 99.9%. That means maximum of the alpha particles. So this experiment is conducted with many alpha particles. Okay, so most of the alpha particles, that means around 99.9% of the alpha particles, pass straight through the gold foil. They passed straight through the gold foil. Now this alpha particle is positively charged, and if Thomson's atomic model was true, then this alpha particles, if the mass of the atom is concentrated, he also said that the mass of the atom is concentrated throughout the atom. Mass is concentrated throughout the atom, and it's a positive sphere. Atom is a positive sphere. So if that atomic model was true, then this alpha particles would have bounced back. Because negative charges, because like charges, they repel each other. But this thing did not happen. Okay, what happened here? On the contrary, what happened? Most of the alpha particles passed straight through the gold foil. And how they came to know? Because they produced scintillations here. Here the scintillations were produced. Okay, here scintillations, that means the illuminations were produced. So that means it was clear that most of the alpha particles have passed straight to the gold foil. Right. Second observation was very few alpha particles. Okay, very few alpha particles. Very few. Okay. Deflected at small angles. Deflected at small angles. Small angle. That means what? See, I'll show you with another diagram also. Now just understand. So what happened? What was the notice? That some alpha particles, very few alpha particles, they showed deflection. They did not go straight, but they showed deflection. Deflection by what? Small angles. Because instead of maximum scintillations were produced in this region, but sometimes the scintillation or the illumination was produced here also. Okay, that means very few alpha particles they deflected at small angles. Instead of passing straight, they showed deflection by small angles. Okay. Then the third point, around 1 in, the figure also he gave, around 1 in 10,000. So in some books 10,000, some books 20,000 is also used, so whatever you go by, but it's very less. That means 1 in 10,000 is also quite less number, okay. So around 1 in 10,000 deflected at large angles. Deflected at large angles, okay, or even bounced back or rebounded back, even bounced back. That means bounced back means what? They got deflected at an angle of 180 degree. Understood? So this was completely surrounded. Only a narrow slit was slit was left out for the alpha particles to be bombarded on this gold foil. Yes or no? So some alpha particles, they showed deflection at large angles. That means instead of going like this, they were deflected. So this should have been the original part. So they showed deflection by larger angles. Okay, this was a smaller angle. So they showed deflection by larger angles, and some even bounced back at an angle of 180 degree. Okay, so this was the observation made after the gold foil experiment or the alpha particle scattering experiment. Okay, so let us see another figure here. So now students, let us have a look at what actually might have happened during this gold foil experiment, right? So this is just a layer of atom I have taken because it was the thinnest gold foil. So maybe there may be more than one layer, but still we have taken one layer of atom here, one layer, okay. So now you can see here the alpha particles were the alpha particles, you can see here, what must have happened now, you see, because this part of the atom is completely empty, you can see, large part of the atom is empty. So that means why most of the alpha particles pass straight. See, alpha particles without any obstruction, they pass straight. Most 99.9% of the alpha particles pass straight, you can see here. Okay, because now we know that most of the part of the atom is empty. That's why most of the alpha particles pass straight. This was the actual case that had happened during the gold foil experiment, right? Then some alpha particles deflected by small angle. What does it mean? Now alpha particle has a positive charge, and you know that when a positive charge comes in contact with a positive charge, it will be repelled. It will be deflected definitely, because both the charges don't because the like charges are repelling each other. You know that. So now what happened? So now when any alpha particle would have come a little closer to the nucleus, now we know that it is nucleus. Now we know that it is nucleus. But visualize that what was the result of the alpha particle scattering experiment. Okay, now we are focusing on that. So obviously, when the alpha particles would have come near the nucleus, that is a positive charge. Nucleus is carrying a positive charge. Now you know, because nucleus has what? Protons and neutrons. At that time there was no idea about it. They had idea that there are some positively charged particles, that is protons, but idea of neutron was completely absent. Okay. So when the alpha particles would have come closer to the nucleus, they would have got deflected. So these are those alpha particles which got deflected at small angles, which came little close to the nucleus and got deflected at small angles. They showed deviation by small angles. And which particles deviated at large angle or showed deflection by large angles? Obviously, the alpha particles that directly hit the nucleus. Because alpha particle only has a mass of 4 atomic mass unit, yes or no? But the gold has an atomic mass of 197 AMU, yes or no? So obviously the mass of the nucleus of the gold must be very heavy, yes or no? So when a lighter object collides with the heavier object, it will bounce back or it will be deflected at very large angle, and moreover the nucleus is carrying what? Positive charge, right? So first thing, most of the alpha particles pass straight through the gold foil. Okay, that shows that most part of the atom is empty. Secondly, some alpha particles showed deflection by small angles. That means they would have come little closer, they would have gone little close to the nucleus, and since the opposite charge, since the like charge is repelled, so they got deflected by small angles. And 1 in 10,000 got deflected by large angles, because these are those alpha particles which directly hit the nucleus of the gold and they bounced back. Okay. So after the observations made by Rutherford, what were the conclusions drawn by Rutherford? Okay, let us come to the conclusions drawn by Rutherford. So he drew out some conclusions, and based on those conclusions, he also gave a model called the Rutherford's atomic model. Okay, the first conclusion of Rutherford was that, so he gave an atomic model, so we can call it as Rutherford's atomic model, or it is also called as a nuclear model of Rutherford, because here for the first time he discovered that something is there called nucleus. He named it as what? Nucleus, is it no? So so nuclear model of Rutherford. Okay, it goes by this name. Most popularly Rutherford's atomic model. So after the observations and after drawing out the conclusion, Rutherford proposed his own atomic model. That is after J.J. Thomson. So here it is at this point that J.J. Thomson's atomic model failed. Yes or no? So now the first point of Rutherford's atomic model was that most part of the atom is what? Empty. Right? That is why 99.9% of alpha particles pass straight through the gold foil without undergoing any deviation. If Thomson's atomic model would have been correct, then this alpha particles would not have been able to pass through the gold foil, right? The first thing is that he concluded that most of the part of the atom is empty. That means atom has more amount of extra nuclear space. Okay. Then second point of Rutherford's atomic model is what? He said that the center of the atom is positively charged and it resides in a very small space. and this center he named as nucleus. Because very few alpha particles got deflected, very few alpha particles were deflected by small angles and large angles. So he concluded that this positive charge, students remember that time there was no idea of neutrons, okay, don't forget that, there was no idea of neutrons, okay. So what he concluded that the positive mass is located somewhere at the center of the atom, okay, and it is confined to a very small region, okay, it is confined to a very small region, okay, that means it resides in a very small region, not in a very big region. So from this we can also say, and then it's confined to a very small region. One better example is given in most of the books, that if we compare the atom with the cricket field, the cricket stadium or field, and if the cricket field is an atom, then nucleus is just like a small ball with which the game of cricket is played. Yes or no? So you can just imagine. So we can just say in one way, if the radius of the atom is 10 to the power of minus 10 meter, then if the radius of the atom is 10 to the power of minus 10 meter, then the radius of the nucleus will be 10 to the power of minus 15 meter, which is around what? It's around 1 lakh times. That means 1 lakh times. Yes or no? That means atom is bigger than nucleus by 1 lakh times, or nucleus is smaller than atom by 1 lakh times. So just imagine, okay? So it is occupying that small region within an atom, okay? And then the third important point that he gave in his atomic model was that this positive charge nucleus is dense. It is what? It is dense and heavy. Dense and heavy, okay? This positively charged nucleus is dense and heavy because the alpha particle struck the nucleus. When it hit the nucleus, it bounced back. That means it is dense as well as heavy, okay? It is concentrated, although it is concentrated in a small region, but it is dense and heavy because alpha particle was also having a mass of 4 atomic mass unit, right? Besides that, the other points, also we can write on the other points. He also stated that the number of positive charges is equal to the number of negative charges. So that we were already knowing. Dalton had already told that, yes or no? So that means atom is neutral. That means atom is what? Neutral, right? That means atom is neutral, okay? And the fifth most important point, that was the greatest contribution we can say of Rutherford. So see, by this Goldfarb experiment, he was able to find out so many things, yes or no? But he also said that these electrons revolve around the nucleus in closed circular orbits. So this was perhaps the most important point given by Rutherford, because with the help of this Goldfarb experiment, how was he able to conclude that these electrons, the negatively charged electrons, are revolving around the nucleus? Yes or no? So that was the most important finding of Rutherford. So he already knew that this, you see, he compared, what did Rutherford do? He compared the model of atom with the solar system, actually. He compared the model of the atom with the solar system, okay? Just as you know, the sun is at the center of the solar system. The sun is the center of the solar system, the planets revolve around, suppose this is Earth. So you know that Earth revolves around the sun. Yes or no? Earth revolves around the sun. And what is the what is the attraction? What is the force between the sun and the Earth? We all know that is the gravitational force. Gravitational force exists between the sun and the Earth. Yes or no? And we know that the Earth spins around Earth revolves around the sun, because sun has a greater mass, it has a greater gravity. So all the planets in the solar system revolve around the sun, just like our Earth. Yes or no? So what Earth does? Earth converts, what happens, the gravitational force between the sun and the earth is converted to what? Centripetal force, actually. It is converted to what? Centripetal force, which enables the earth to move around the sun in circular orbit. In circular orbit. Okay. So it is, it's a term in physics, centripetal force, centrifugal force. Okay, you'll be reading it in physics again. But then just I want to tell you that in order for a body to revolve around another body, so for a body to undergo a circular motion, it needs a kind of force, and that force is called as what? Centripetal force. So here what happens basically, the gravitational force between the sun and the earth is converted to the centripetal force. This centripetal force is used by the earth to go around the what? Sun, to revolve around the sun. Otherwise, the sun's gravity is enough to pull the earth towards itself. Yes or no? But this doesn't happen. We know that this doesn't happen. Yes or no? So Rutherford already had the idea that if electron, suppose this is an atom now, okay, and he told that nucleus is at the center, and nucleus is having what? The positively charged particles are present inside the nucleus, and electrons are revolving around the nucleus in closed circular orbit. He was able to conclude that because of this solar system model. Because if electron is negatively charged and the nucleus is positively charged, so we know that the force of attraction called the electrostatic force exists between the two oppositely charged particles. Electrostatic force. Try to understand this, okay? So just like this, you see the nucleus is carrying positive charge. Electrons are carrying negative charge. And if electrons are still, they are not in motion, what will happen? Definitely, the nucleus is having a greater mass than electron. So definitely, electron will be pulled towards the nucleus, and ultimately there will be no atom. The atom will be destroyed, right? The atom will be destroyed. But this is not the case. We know that atom is stable. We know that atom is stable. Yes or no? So from this he concluded that electrons must be revolving around the nucleus. That means they are converting that means the electrostatic force of attraction between the nucleus and the electron is being converted to centripetal force, which enables the electron to move in circular orbits around the nucleus. Although this model also failed after some time, but then this was the greatest contribution. We can say one of the greatest points suggested by Lord Rutherford, because with the Goldfall experiment, he was able to conclude that electrons are not still. That means they are not. They are always in motion. Electrons are always in motion, and they basically revolve around the nucleus. That means they are using the electrostatic force of attraction, which is converted to centripetal force, and that centripetal force is used by the electrons to revolve around the nucleus. Okay. Otherwise, the electrons will be directly attracted by the nucleus, and the atom will be collapsed. And the atom will no more be there. It will be destroyed, right? But then, students, Rutherford's atomic model also failed after some time. So, let's discuss about the failure of Rutherford's atomic model. Okay, how this model failed? Rutherford had found out many important points regarding the structure of an atom. He basically came very close. to the structure of the atom. But then still it failed because it was not able to explain. He was not able to explain the stability of the atom. Is the most important point. Because he failed to explain the stability of the atom. Okay, students? So, I'll explain this to you now. How he failed to explain the stability of the atom. There's a theory called Maxwell theory. Okay? In electrodynamics, there was a scientist called Maxwell. He was a very great scientist. Electromagnetism, electrodynamics. He has worked on many fields. Okay? So he failed to explain what? Actually, the Maxwell theory. And what was this Maxwell theory actually? That an accelerated charged particle continuously loses energy, or we can say, or emits radiation. Basically it emits what? Radiation. Radiation is what? Energy only. So according to Maxwell theory, which was proved correct already, that it was already proved that whenever there is any charged particle carrying some charge, and if it is accelerated, now you can see this. Acceleration means what? Acceleration is a change in velocity. Acceleration is a change in velocity. Yes or no? That is acceleration. Acceleration, the change in velocity now in a circular orbit like this. There's a nucleus. The electron is carrying a negative charge and it is revolving around this nucleus. So continuously the velocity is changing or not? The direction of motion is changing. First here, then here. So the direction of motion is changing. Maybe the speed may be same, but the direction of motion is changing. So electron is having an acceleration. We can say that electron is negatively charged. That is a charged particle. Electron is a charged particle, and it is continuously it is accelerated charged particle also. Rightly, it is accelerated charged particle because while moving around the nucleus, its direction of motion is continuously changing. Yes or no? So then it should emit radiation. That means it should continuously lose energy, and if it loses energy, then definitely it will come and hit the nucleus or collapse into the nucleus of the atom, and the atom will be destroyed ultimately. Right? So this was a drawback of Rutherford's atomic model, because he failed to explain what? The stability of the atom. Because electron is charged particle, and if it revolves around the nucleus continuously, it is getting accelerated. Okay, that means the direction of motion is changing. Change of velocity is called as acceleration. Yes or no? So little physics is used here, right? So it is continuously, so it is having acceleration, and it is a charged particle. Then ultimately it will lose energy, go on losing energy, and ultimately it will collapse into the nucleus, and the atom will be destroyed. But we know that atom is stable. Matter exists. Atom is stable. So this was the drawback of Rutherford's atomic model. Okay. So students, let's wind up the class here, and in the next class we will be discussing some more points that after this Rutherford, who gave the new atomic model, and what is the present atomic model also we'll be discussing. So till then, just go through this video well and understand every concept carefully. Okay, and feel free to ask your doubts. Okay, keep studying.